clock on the wall is not right. You missed it. It's always a 5 ball. You got the inside BS. A lot of good insight.
I know the room was on when I used to talk to him. It was about 2 minutes ahead.
Just outside the box. So that
would clear it out. It was actually really time.
There you go. For the farmer's market type. Okay, well.
All right. It is 6:30. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. And everyone is present. And let's start with invocation. Monica, you want to?
Dear Heavenly Father, guide this council tonight to make good decisions for the city and keep all of our people in Granger safe. Thank you for all of the rain we had, and bring your blessing to us. Amen.
So join me with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, there's no public comments. So we're going to go ahead and move on to grant updates.
Good evening, Council. I hope y'all doing great. Alrighty. First, I want to start out with the historic Granger City Hall project.
Mic check. There it is.
Okay. Brian and I will be meeting again later on this week to do a more in-depth dive into what is involved in making sure that the east wall is stable. Now, I want to go ahead and start getting bids from contractors for the work that you want to have done on the inside. But before I do it, as stated in the report, I need your input on how much weight you want to give to local contractors, because you have a lot of local contractors. If that's not an issue, cool, but you're the council, I want your feedback on this. So,
don't we have to go through special contractors because it's historical?
It really depends on the work. Okay? As long as we stay to specs that were done on the original pieces of work by the architecture by Chris Hudson, as long as we stay to that, and we have a lot more leeway on the inside, because the things that you're wanting to add in there at this time are what's considered maintenance issues, like a quality bathroom, that we're not changing any aesthetic, we're just making it a safe, healthy place to be. Okay? So we're good with them, and I am continually in contact with THC. But I understand if you don't want to make a decision tonight, but it's something that I want you to think about before I move forward and start bringing bids to you, okay? All right. Household waste removal. We've got, I've got funding approved by the RC&D to do a household waste day here in Granger, where they bring in the trailers and the people, and all you have to do is have our citizens show up and bring things that can't go into the county dump, things that we don't want sitting around in people's garages, things that we don't want in the water table. So all I need is a date for that. If you want to do it the next time we do a citywide cleanup, we could kill 2 birds with 1 stone on that one. Okay? Williamson County Recreational Facility Fund application. Say that real fast 3 times. Scott and I have been working on this, and you'll see when you came in tonight the blue and white stripes on your seat at your seats. That's the revised budget with the sidewalks added. So we originally started out with a space, as you saw by the diagram in your packet. I'm marketing this space in the presentation we're going to make to the County Commissioner's Court as a multi-use recreational space. So I'm listing a wide variety of things we can use it for. If you'll notice in the diagram, there are power poles every 2 spaces on that, so that vendors, and Scott would like me to remind you that these are not just standard parking lot size spaces. These are 10-foot spaces, so a vendor can come in, pull in, set up their tables and everything at the back of their truck or their trailer, and present that way.
In wide by how much?
So typical parking spaces, they add another 10, so they can pull in and set their 10 people, whatever, right behind them.
Very good, thanks, sir.
The sidewalks were really necessary to add to this whole thing simply because you've seen the condition of the sidewalks out there. For safety and welfare of the participants and people using it, we really had to do something with it. $16,000 more, that's all ADA too.
Is that east and west, or north, where the sidewalks located at?
The sidewalks for this particular project will be on the Davila side.
Okay.
Okay? I'll keep you posted on how this is going, but County Commissioners Court meets every Tuesday. We're about 2 weeks out from having the entire presentation ready for them, and Scott and I will coordinate the date so that we can both be there to make the presentation and answer the questions. Okay, feedback on the fall garage sale. Mayor Pro Tem, how did it go?
I went ahead and set up a poll on Facebook asking if we had people that were actually interested in selling or attending, and it was quite a response. I believe we had 30-something that were, 52 or something that were coming, and 25 that were going to set up booths. So we felt there's a need to pursue this.
And that would be the one, we already have the one in the spring. This would be one for fall. So it would give residents a chance to make some cash before Christmas. So, and clean out some houses before Christmas. So I need you guys to think about what date's going to be best. This is a non-expense event because we already have the signs. Everything will go on Facebook, and I'll post the event for about a 50-mile to 100-mile radius on a variety of free websites called community calendars, where people who like to go and shop these types of events all day see it out there. And I think, it could be kind of a cool niche because nobody else does one in the fall. So we could be, weather holding, we could be a lot better attended than we have been in the past. Okay? Our homes, our decision. I included that in your material. This is something that TML was pushing out, and I knew that the community would be interested in this. They're rolling the whole thing out, and I'll keep you posted on it, but really, it's telling the state that as small communities, our local government reserves the right to make policies and ordinances that we deem acceptable, and that the state does not have the right to enforce or inflict their policies or ordinance requirements on small communities. And I know that's important to people in Granger, and I think that we need to follow this pretty carefully because there's a lot of stuff going on in the Capitol that could drastically change what happens in small communities. So, any questions? All right, thanks.
Dates to go with this.
Yeah, you have any dates for me?
I'm thinking either the 1st or the 15th.
Well, it's
Around that,
actually,
it would
it's
be a
down here.
Saturday, but it is on the agenda later.
Okay. Fantastic.
Can I make one suggestion? When we've got a grant update, can I make a suggestion that we add engineering updates if we've got a subdivision coming in, and that would have an opportunity to give an update on that?
Okay.
Done your full meeting, or if I'd like to do something now, that you want me to.
Yeah, sure, since it's on grant update, that's perfectly fine.
I will add that to the next one.
And actually, Scott, if you wouldn't mind, just on explain your design a little bit in the bathroom,
Okay.
if you wouldn't mind.
Sure, absolutely. All right. So what you're looking there on that plan, on the north side of, let's call it the railroad yard, I think that's what everybody has kind of been designated that. It is a asphalt parking area, and we do have it's a prefab restroom facility down on the south side. The idea of this is that eventually, if we get a grant to do a community center, that can go on the south side, and we can relocate this prefabricated restroom facility to another park somewhere. They're on skids, they can be picked up by a crane and moved to another location. That's what makes these things great. Now, they are actually built, look like cinder block, they can look like rock, brick, the exterior, they actually paint it to make it look like brick. It's contoured to look like brick or rock, whatever we want. So we pick and choose what we want this thing to look like. So in other words, it's not just a metal building that's sitting out there. These things are pretty nice. And what I'll do, I know we were trying to get this thing put together. What I'll do is I'll send you or the city administrator website a link to where these things are fabricated. You can look at these, and it's a pretty nice little facility that they've got.
How many restrooms is it?
Just a men and women's, just one.
I know, like how many toilets?
It's one toilet and on each side with a sink. So
$75,000?
yeah.
Kind of high, isn't it?
Well, now keep in mind, these things are made to where the staff can just go in with a water hose and just spray the whole thing down. Again, they're prefab, they're ADA accessible, so we meet all the state requirements for handicap accessibility. It's all stainless steel appliances, stainless steel tanks, you name it. So I don't want to say they're indestructible, but they're a lot more indestructible than a normal restroom facility.
May I ask where this idea came from?
We've used them before on several other cities.
No, I mean the whole thing. Paving it and all of that.
We just put together a plan just to try to figure out how we can make something work there.
I'll explain it a little bit. So what ended up happening is there was a grant that Waste Management that runs the Williams County landfill. They give a grant to Williams County every year, and basically we're trying to get those grant dollars. The idea is basically to make that lot a little bit more usable. Now there's other communities that can build very expensive and very beautiful things, but we've kind of got to stick to the grant because we don't have money to go build our own facility. So, and when talking to Scott, I asked about the bathroom and basically covering it in crushed granite and the power, because we always have a power issue every year for Lake Fest. And so, but where this ended up coming from was we're just seeing if we can even get the grant dollars. We could be shot.
But really, this is kind of set up towards more like Lake Fest, where we're constantly running cords and getting power out there. What this will do, we'll have pedestals set up in between each parking spot that has power that we can provide to, say, a farmer's market, or during Lake Fest, we can have booths set up on this property here, on that parking lot.
But may I ask who came up with the idea of applying for it? Because council did not know nothing about it.
We're all in the dark.
We're always in the dark, Trevor. We never know when you're doing something behind our backs.
Okay.
This should be something we should decide and talk about before you go any further on.
And that's why it's in before you.
That's good, isn't it? Yeah, but y'all told me tell us before.
The reason for it is I can tell you about it, and I've talked about this for 3 years.
What?
So, we've talked about when we back and named the rail yard.
Yes.
We talked about putting a pavilion on it one day.
Right, that's
We
not
talked
a
about
pavilion.
it right here. Right here we talked about it.
That's not a pavilion.
It's not a pavilion. And so, but it's a start to being able to move forward. There's options that we can do with this. If it doesn't cost us anything, I mean, you tell me. I mean, if you don't want it, you don't want it. You can vote against it. We can lift grass. I mean, if you don't want free money, if you don't want to improve that lot, that's okay.
I think there's a lot more other things we need to improve before we worry about building a parking lot there.
Okay.
We got sidewalks in front of our businesses, people are gonna fall and get hurt on.
Okay.
That's
May I ask
more
a question?
important.
May I ask a question? How are we going to do that?
That's what that man is for, that's what that lady's for. She gets paid a lot of money to do that.
I understand, but this grant is for a park. And
For
so
what?
This is what this grant is for.
I know.
This grant's not for
Well,
sidewalks.
maybe we don't want concrete or asphalt on that one.
And what would you like?
maybe nothing, that grass is pretty nice. Do you realize that Lake Fest is like 100 degrees? Black asphalt, you know what it's gonna be on that asphalt?
Are you asking for action on this tonight, or are we just getting some feedback?
This is feedback to move forward with seeing if the council is interested in it. Obviously
We
not.
will vote on it?
Scott, could this grant be used to the existing park we have on Main Street across from the original City Hall where the gazebo is at?
I'm not familiar with the grant, so
That's a pretty loose grant, but it's not a normal grant. This is a different type of proposal, it doesn't follow the standard format, it goes before the commission report. They hold the funds are provided through by Waste Management to Williamson County, but here's the thing, it's specifically for recreational facilities. Now, I haven't had anybody who I've talked to them about putting this proposal together, and I've done it, mention the possibility of improving upon an existing recreational facility. Okay? I don't know of any communities that have used the funds for an existing recreational facility, but I'm more than happy to ask the council to about.
Like, if we could get money like that to upgrade the park we have now? Could you use it for that?
I don't know, but like I said, I've never seen it used like that before, but I will definitely, first thing in the morning, call the office, find out if the council, or the court will entertain that idea, definitely, without a doubt.
I would rather see that.
There is a little time, there is a time on this grant, which I was told it needed to be put in before November.
Okay, the thing was, it was in my packet, and I knew nothing about it.
Well, and I can't call the council on individual items because then I have a walking forum. So that's why.
Yeah, but you get it, and then it's like, oh, it's all set in stone, here it is. And
No,
I'm
it's
like,
not set in stone. This is an idea. I asked Scott to do this, and I asked Catherine, and she reached out to Scott, and this is what we came up with. This isn't set in stone, and so, I mean, it was a way of improving this lot.
Who's
And,
gonna clean the bathroom?
I'm more than happy to clean that, I'm not about it.
Would it be, so we're putting this together to see if we can actually qualify for the grant, is that correct?
you know, we could get shot down and the county's like, this is too expensive, or this isn't beneficial for the county, and they could vote us down.
Is it a full grant for the facility? Is it a matching dollars grant?
We don't know yet. That would be up to the commissioner's court.
But if we apply for it and they say, we're gonna give you $60,000, good luck to you, we can say no at that time?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
that's usually how those grants work. You don't have to accept it.
So would y'all be opposed to just trying, I mean, to push it through to C? Unless the money can be utilized elsewhere to improve existing parks.
The one amazing thing about this particular fund is there's no matching on it.
There's no.
It's fully funded.
Like an improvement for free if we can get it, for sure.
I mean, well, since we're in discussion on this item, is there something that you would rather see there?
I'd like to see us sell it and make money off of it. What does it do for us?
Well, I can tell you financially, the amount of tax dollars that we could make off of this by renting it would be way more than selling it. A community center can be rented, it can be leased, it can, great for car shows, great for, cities struggle with having property on the internal side of the city to, be able to have recreational use. But over a 10-year period, we will make way more off of owning the property and utilizing it in this manner than we would if we sold it.
Just seems we're getting into, she's got a park supposedly gonna try to get started. We have a subdivision going in. Now you want this. I mean, that's a lot for the city to be sticking our fingers in if we don't really know all the ins and buts of it. And me and her don't know none of this, so it's news to me.
I talked to Monica Schweitzer about it briefly, probably 2 weeks ago, I'm guessing.
Yeah, you had it in this paper.
Yep. So,
Okay, the location of those bathrooms, if I lived in that little blue house right there, I sure wouldn't want those bathrooms in front of my house. So that's not a good location. Because if people come up there and mess around at night, and we have a lot of stuff that goes on during the night with kids and adults, those people are gonna be calling 911 all the time.
Yeah, the only reason it was placed there is we have a sewer that comes down that alley to the south, and it stops there. So it was just perfect tie-in point. That's the only reason it was put there. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have security lighting on them as well. So, again, that's a concept. We needed a cost estimate of what it would cost to do something out there. We put that together. It kind of fit good with the anticipation in the future if we could do a pavilion or community center, that parking spot. The parking lot now becomes the parking for the community center, but we still have the electrical pedestals out there that we could use for Lake Fest. Again, we could do whatever the council wants. There's nothing set in stone.
Mention about when we do trash pickup.
We did look at this, like, it leaves a small area, because that's where we do our city cleanup. And it would leave us a smaller area. And then this all being fenced in, it would be harder to get the big dumpsters in. I don't know that
That's on the south side, right, where the car wash
where
is?
the car wash is.
Yeah, so that's all south of where the park, we're not going all the way. We're leaving all of that. The existing concrete that was out there for the car wash, all that stays the same.
We don't
Okay, yeah.
use the concrete, we use the grass.
They use the grass here.
They back those.
The
But
concrete.
again, we can shorten that parking lot up. The only reason I put it there was that alley. I was trying to get it to where cars could pull in off of Walnut. They can go straight through the alley if they want, or turn north and head through the parking lot up to Davila. Again, there's no magic to how it was done. We can change whatever you want.
Community center, proposed community center that will be built with this plan, would it be built between the asphalt and the concrete slab? Is that where you were looking to build it?
The asphalt slab would end up going up, the concrete slab would end up going away. That's about where the community center would be. And again, depending on the size of community center, it may just be a pavilion to start out with. Again, it's a blank canvas out there. You can do whatever you want.
And the slab that's currently there, that would probably need to be removed and redone, is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, it's not engineered for a building. It was engineered for basically a carport.
Car wash.
Yeah,
At one
that's
time.
correct.
Well, that's where they put the asphalt, though, isn't it? The asphalt is to the street side, but on that slab, isn't it? This is where we dump all the stuff in the end.
Yeah, the asphalt parking covers about half of the railroad lot. Maybe just a little over because the alley, we're getting that access drive across the alley. But
And what are the odds that we might be accepted or not?
that I don't know. I don't know anything about the grant. Again, they just asked, give me some ideas and the cost, what is it going to cost to do something out there? So,
And when is I'm sorry, Scott, go ahead.
no, I was going to say instead of asphalt, we could do the crushed red granite or, granite pebbles or something like that. There's all sorts of number of things that we could do if you would rather be less destructive of the existing property. Again, it's whatever the council wants to do.
Would the granite be more feasibly less expensive versus the asphalt?
It'll be a little less expensive. You still have to put the base material down. Otherwise, all you're going to do is push that granite into the black dirt. So we've got to get something underneath it to hold it. So, once you get cars running over the top of it, all it's going to do is push it into the clay. So,
And what about drainage? How would the drainage issues on this work?
it's pretty flat. It goes from west to east. So it's just going to be a sheet flow from west to east into the ditch along Walnut. That's correct.
Captain, when is if we decided to do anything with this, when is it due by?
You have to, call the court, the procedure court, and get scheduled on the docket on the agenda, and every Tuesday, for about 2 weeks, that was what I've been working on. It's a full-blown PowerPoint presentation of data, and we're basically selling them on why this funding would go towards the enhancement of a recreational space in the middle of our commercial district. We don't have any property in that zone, so, just the location where it is why we thought it would be the place to, that's the way I've been writing it, the proposal. That it's, community access, centrally located, ideal for visitors because it's adjacent to 95 and the villa. We've got more and more growth businesses down on that end as well, as our end, the other end. And so, you know, it's going to be a need for occasional parking involved, a place for flea markets, festivals, events, vendors,
For concerts.
Barbecue, cook-off, everything.
Anybody else have any questions?
No, sir.
I have a question for Catherine. On that historic city hall project, we were supposed to have a line item made for the city hall for donations and restoration. Do you know if that line item's been made?
I do not have, I just go to accounts receivable, ask the acting city administrator, I don't.
It was, it is, and there is a balance. I made the line item.
You want to go on to the,
Okay, yeah, if you have any suggestions on how to lay that out, feel free, or if you'd rather not, just let me know and I'll just let it drop, whatever you want to do.
if
So-
y'all don't want to move forward, just let me know, and we don't have to go after, I feel like it's part of my job and Catherine's job is to find money and present it to council, but, people don't want free money, that's okay to do. So, go ahead.
So another grant update is the 2017 CDBG. That's the lift station that goes in at the wastewater treatment plant. We're under design of that. We've got the pump information back from Pump Solutions late last week. We're getting all that incorporated. So hopefully we will have a set of design plans and specification, bid manual, everything ready in about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. So we're trying to get it in before the holidays hit. So once the holidays hit, contractors start backing off and they won't even look at it until after the first of the year. So if I can get it in before Thanksgiving, we're going to hit that before they start turning down. So hopefully we can get some good numbers in. So that's the goal on that one. The last thing is the subdivision. The developer did submit the plat application and plat on Friday. However, she did not provide any fees. Went back looking through my emails just to make sure. On August 13th, I sent her the original plat application. At the time, the fees were TBD, to be determined, because I didn't know what the council had at the time. September 13th, we did find the plat fees, inserted those on the application, and sent that to Marcy. So she had all that information. She's got the updated plat and zoning application with the fees. The application she turned in still has the TBD down at the bottom. So right now, technically, the city is not on the clock because she has not paid her fees. So she has to pay her fees before we do anything to review that. So I do know she did want to be on the November council meeting, but that's dependent upon planning and zoning meeting and making sure she's got everything submitted. My process in all of this, I review her application, compare it to the ordinances that we have right now, and I document what she's not in compliance with. Now, she did submit a variance request letter, and she lists, I don't know, did you see that, Bob? It's like a dozen variance requests that she's asking for. I didn't read through them, so I don't know exactly. I know lot width is one of them. Currently, our ordinance requires an 85-foot lot width, which is pretty excessive, in my opinion. But right now, what she's got is a 45-foot lot width. That's on the plat. So, now I've seen them before in other subdivisions. It's usually a real small house and real cheap house. Again, that's going to be council for y'all to decide. Planning and zoning is going to review it. They'll make their recommendation, but all it is a recommendation to the council. Y'all can either take that, vote against it, or do whatever you guys want. So,
For the purposes of information, can you send me that variance request? Because I don't have
Yeah, it's on your desk.
Is it?
Yeah, it was in that package. Yeah, I copied it, so I'm reviewing it tonight, and so I'll send my comments in, you know, from an engineering perspective. I won't do lot widths or anything like that. That's a council deal, but I've got to look at it from engineering, make sure it's safe, and they're building it according to state of Texas engineering requirements, so.
The Planning and Zoning Committee is meeting at the school, I believe, tomorrow at 6.
Okay,
So they're getting started also.
okay, perfect.
Okay, I spoke with the fire marshal, Bobby Belcher. Who needs to contact him, because he says as of today, he has not been notified. I sent him what plan that we had. He said there are no fire plugs on there. He said it has to have 2 entrances.
Yeah,
and that doesn't show it.
well, the 2 entrances, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was during the annexation process. There were some stipulations that you guys wanted for them to do during the annexation.
We moved it down to 1.
And one of them is you did allow the 1. So
But
we're gonna have
they were
to,
sending the second one on that northeast corner. Well, and I told him that.
yeah,
And he said, how can a fire truck get in there, or an ambulance? I said, it can't, because that land is owned by another farmer. He said, that won't cut it.
yeah. Well, I haven't looked at the plans, so I'm
Okay.
reviewing those.
But you will contact him?
That's correct. Yeah,
I'll let him
the
know.
fire marshal gets contacted when we get the construction drawings. The plat right now is just lot width, setbacks, things like that.
Okay.
Well, and the dual lane. Now, I think the dual entrance, I think I remember seeing that in her variance request.
Okay.
So, you know, we'll just need
He's
to check
aware
all
of that,
that.
yeah.
That's correct. So all of that, again, it goes through planning and zoning. They'll check it. Then it comes to you guys for approval. We're going to document what does not conform to the current ordinances, subdivision ordinance. And it's up to you guys. Do you accept that or don't? So it's my job to go through and find out what she's not in conformance with.
Still got quite a process to go through at this point.
I'll let Bobby know though that you'll contact him when you get that.
Yes, ma'am.
How many houses were on this new proposed plan?
She has 104 lots.
They haven't in phases yet, is that determined, or?
No, it's, the plat that I saw was all one phase, all one deal. Yeah.
And once they sign the bid contract and pay the fees, you say we're on the clock, what's?
What that means is the review period.
Okay.
So, in other words, we can't sit here and hold on to this thing for 30 days. We've got to get our comments back to them. If there's any engineering changes that I see, you know, fire protection's one of them. You know, now that is in the construction drawings. We don't have any water lines shown or anything like that. Normally that's presented after the plat gets approved, and then we hit the construction side of it. So right now it's just basically, think of it like a concept plan.
He asked who's gonna pay for the fire plugs. Does the city do that, or
Nope.
does that subdivision? do it?
Subdivision pays for everything. That's correct. And the fees that are paid for the plating process and the zoning process, that is to pay to cover the city's time in reviewing that, the engineer's time, the fire marshal's time. So, you know, there's an hourly rate for those. Those fees cover all of that. So the city's not out any money in this review. Okay. And again, next time, since that's really not a grant, I would ask that we do an engineering update, so that way I can give an update on other stuff besides
We'll get that on
grants. So, all right, any other questions? Anything else?
Sure. Have you found out about my IDA lift station, where I can access it?
No, matter of fact, I've got the appraisal district pulling up those plats to see if there was an easement given at some time. If there's not, there may not be, and if there's not, then we've got to get one spunked up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's still a work in progress. Yeah, no, I called the appraisal district, and they said, well, we have to pull that plat and go through the volumes and see if they can figure out if it was filed any time between the original plat was filed and see if any paperwork or an easement was filed after that. So I've got them researching that.
If there is no easement, the only way we could get one would be through eminent domain, is that correct?
We can go to the property owner and see if they would be willing to sign up what's called a blanket easement. And essentially what that does is where the city's utilities are now, we call a blanket easement that says from the center line of that pipe, 5 feet on either side. That gives us a 10-foot easement for us to get access in and out. So where the force main goes down, if it's up along the fence, we may ask for 10 feet off the center line of one side. So there's different ways that we write it. The reason for that is if they would be willing to sign a blanket easement, now we don't have to get a surveyor out there to do meets, bounds, and, it's a lot more expensive, but we could definitely do that. But we've also done it with just a blanket easement as well. It's a lot simpler and a lot cleaner for both.
Okay. Just thought that was important for council to know.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Scott.
Moving on to MDD update.
Good evening. For the MDD, we have no major updates for this month. We meet in November, but we do have a grant facade that's the deadline was November 16th. This will be the last one for the year. Any other questions?
That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Planning and zoning updates. Basically, they're going to have a meeting tomorrow at 6 at the school. Fire department updates. I'll read this out real quick since we don't have Hugh Tidwell here to do it. Medical assist calls, we had 19. Automobile collisions, we had 2. Outside fire calls, we had 1. Structure fires, 0. Outside fires, mutual aid, we had 1. Alarm calls, we had 2. Vehicle equipment fires, 0. Swift water disabled boat, 1. Medical assist, 0. Electrical hazard, 2. For a total of 28 calls for the month of September. The truck issued, the 1989 brush truck has been sold. The specifications for the new brush truck, similar to our current Squad 1, have been delivered to the city to prepare for the purchase of the new truck. Station issues, there are no issues. September has been another busy month for us. The recent rains and cooler temperature have greatly helped in the county fire condition. We have not received any new member inquiries since posting the articles about the need for new volunteers. Thank you, James Cervenka.
Trevor, I have run the request several times for new volunteers in the paper.
Yeah,
How many volunteers do we have right now?
I believe 5.
Probably about 5 or 6 active.
Okay. Moving on to utility department report for September 2018.
Can we talk about that 1989 brush truck getting sold?
Yes.
Or you got it somewhere else?
No, it's sold.
I know, but do you have it in here somewhere else that you're going to talk about it?
No.
Okay, well, would you like to tell us what much it was sold for?
It's sold for, I don't have the, you remember, Bob?
I want to say for over 2,600, James Cervenka approved the sale, so.
I think you're wrong on that. He did not.
Well, you're asking me to do quote something by memory, ma'am, and I just don't happen to have the books here.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Cervenka was not notified. He was told it was sold, and why wasn't it brought before
I'm
council?
sorry, maybe you talked to the wrong person, but yes, I did speak to him, and yes, he
Mr.
did
Mayor,
approve.
I'm talking
Unless
to
you'd
you.
like to call me a liar.
Bob, did you get an opportunity to speak to James Cervenka about
Yes, I did.
But it was
He
after the
approved
fact.
sale.
it? It was
Now,
approved
would
for
you
sale.
like me to call him up on the phone there right now so you can speak to him?
So what had happened is Cervenka had talked to Bob. Bob called me and I asked if Cervenka thought it was a good price. And Cervenka said yes. And so I told him to move ahead with it.
Well, you believe who you want to believe, because I talked to Mr. Cervenka myself.
Okay.
And why wasn't it brought before council? You brought the first one to council.
We talked about selling that.
Y'all already gave the authorization to sell it, man.
Yeah, we did talk about selling that, I think last meeting, in fact.
Yeah, we did, and basically.
2,500-ish was the ballpark.
How much?
I think 2,500 was the goal and trying to get back on that.
That's my understanding.
Yeah. And that was decided by council and voted on.
It was decided by us and council. I'm gonna.
I think it was the last, like, official meeting from, I believe before that.
It was on the last before.
Maybe check the notes or something.
Mr. Mayor, that's why I would like to see that we start taking minutes of our meetings.
Okay.
As far as those videos, those YouTube videos, you can't hear it, you can't understand anybody. To me, that is a waste of time. I look to see how many people actually view the things. It's not worth our time even doing them. I would rather see written minutes. And I think there's a few council members that agree with me on that.
And I have been doing written minutes for several months now. And y'all been approving and voting on them in council.
We've got some here that we'll vote on here shortly.
Right. And there's some videos on YouTube that I can't even get access to.
Okay.
And I need to look at them because there were things discussed and I want to see who said what.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else on the utility department update? All right, sorry. Moving on to the utility department, sorry.
Okay, for the month of September, the utility department had a busy month. They repaired one 8-inch water main, assisted contractors to replace an 8-inch gate valve and T, repaired one water leak. They had 2 transfers, 19 disconnects, 12 reconnects. They replaced 1 meter box lid, repaired 1 meter valve, monthly meter readings, 25 rereads, had the monthly flushing, and replaced the check valve for the water transfer pump to the elevation tank. In the sewer department, ran 1 sewer line, cleared Clayton Green for his wastewater D testing, so he's studying really hard right now so he can take that test. Completed 3 reports for overage due to rainfall, and because of the rain and stuff, the mowing is a little behind because they just couldn't get to it. They cleaned out the dump truck, cleared North Brazos and Pecos Apartments entrance off of FM 971 due to pole damage, trimmed tree signage, removed 2 dead animals, called in 4 locates, started on utility office, cleaned the Kubota motor and repaired throttle control, unclogged city hall sink, emptied and cleaned trash can for park, cleaned AC unit for water waste park, set stop signs in place, put out and removed flood signs, and Frank, along with Linda Bravo and myself, attended the TxDOT Utility Coordination meeting in Austin. And I want to give them a big hand for getting the park ready for National Night Out. They did a little extra cleaning and mowing over there. Anything else, Frank?
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank y'all, y'all been doing a good job.
We give a report on that meeting we went to. No, you go ahead, you got it.
Okay, we attended the TxDOT meeting in Austin on Tuesday, I don't remember. It was Tuesday I'm losing.
Yeah, that was September 25th.
September 25th. Frank Giannotti, Linda and I went, and what they are doing, they're actually going to widen the road from I-30, which is in Georgetown, all the way to Granger. And it's going to stop at the Pecos Apartments. And what it was going to do originally, we looked at the line, it's East Mesquite, which is FM 971. When we went to look at it, to widen that, it would have to actually take out existing property, it would take down tree lines, relocate some utilities. It was just going to be a nightmare. And then plus the fact that it is in the city limits, we really didn't need extra lanes there. We needed to bring it in so we could, like, the traffic control. So what they're going to do at this point, they are going to stop short of Pecos Apartments, and they are going to repave the entire deal. There will be sidewalks on both sides with rolled curbing. It won't go into the existing property. It'll be just the side of the road. There's plenty of room for it. And then where the railroad track is at 971 and 95, they're going to gradually like plane it out because we have trucks that get hung on it because of the hump. And then they will take that down to Walton's Way and kind of bring that in. And there will not be any flooding issues because there's drainage that goes from Walton's Way under the road and heads out to the ditch by the railroad. So actually, it's a win-win for Granger because we're getting all of that repaved, all of our potholes done, and we'll have a nice sidewalk there. And it won't hurt any of the existing property owners.
And it won't go into people's property like it initially was stated.
Because originally it was going to be about 12 to 13 feet on each side, which would have just been, some people would have that much room to the road.
From their house.
Because we went to measure it and it was horrible. But at this point, it's a big win-win for Granger.
Police Department report for September 2018.
Nothing to add to the report submitted.
All right. Thank you so much. City Administrator report for September 2018.
I prepared y'all a little written synopsis of some of the major accomplishments that we accomplished in September, and this will be reflective of all the City Hall staff. Basically, we closed the Banyan software account that would have cost the city over $32,000. Instead of a 20% fee of $6,400, I negotiated it down to $4,900. We reopened the Assist software with USTI and paid $6,100 for the fiscal year 17-18 that had not been paid, instead of the normal fees and late fees of $6,900. So we saved money there again. The next payment was due in October. That would be for the FY 18-19 fiscal year, which means that the software will be kept running with help desk assistance and whatnot until October 31st, 2019. Assisted the mayor in doing the paperwork for the $170,000 loan payoff by outlaws and disposal. The final bill was paid October the 3rd. That amount was $110,032.76. We're now current with that number. We have left in the bank almost $60,000, which can be used towards the old City Hall project. Ms. Norris is still working on that, obtaining contractor bids for the estimated work. I've been in contact with Christy Bradshaw, the new city administrator. I've been supplying her information on our fiscal budget, employee procedures and policies, current business transactions. This will get her in a smoother transition period. Some of the remaining issues that we have are the Banyan Assist data mergers. Right now, we know that they cannot merge our payroll that was done in the Banyan software back into Assist. Jerry Palmer's having to hand transfer that information. As far as the billing information on utility billing, we're still hoping that that might be able to be merged back in. They're working on it. We had, there is a current opening for a street maintenance worker. However, Mr. Yanati recommended that that position not be filled at this time. Kurt Kadarka, with the authorization of the mayor, was given a temporary promotion to fill the position vacated by Perry Butzloff. His initial working wage was set at $15 an hour. This is substantially below what Mr. Butzloff was making, which was $42,000 a year. USTI, like I said, is still working on the Banyan data. They have been very helpful with some of the transition issues. They helped me re-enter our new fiscal year line items into our new fiscal year budget that started October the 1st, so that we could at least keep track of our expenses and assets that come in when they come in. So that's something that took me like 3 days sitting on the phone with them just before October the 1st to get all that set up. Y'all have any other questions?
Okay, so there's roughly $60,000 left over. Wasn't it discussed that we were gonna put like 20,000 towards the city hall?
Yes, there's a line item. The extra money, we can either pay back to the loan, and my recommendation at this point is any movement of the money would have to be authorized by council as for a line item. So what we would do is, the reason the payoff was a little lower is because we've made some additional payments to Clausen. And so we could actually move some of that money into the rainy day fund if we needed to, which might not be a terrible idea. But that would be something that we need to, I would ask that we wait until our new city administrator is on and then put that on the agenda for a discussion.
Also, Trevor, we tabled the item of Frank Unati's overtime, comp time, paying him off. We tabled paying him. We need to readdress that issue.
That needs to wait until the new city administrator gets on, because this isn't just a Frank issue. This is every employee has an overtime issue, as we previously discussed in council. This has to do with our employee manual that needs to be fixed, because fixing it for one employee, then we've got 10 more to fix it right after that. So it needs to be an actual policy change. And so when our new city administrator gets on, that's on one of my list of things that need to be addressed. We'll probably redo our employee manual, and then that will need to come before council for discussion.
Did I read somewhere where we were gonna have to look at possibly letting Jerry and Janine have extra overtime to try to get this straightened out, or can they do it on regular hours?
Item 9 under new business.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it's coming up.
we'll wait till that and
Okay.
go into a little bit more depth of what it is. So,
I don't know if this is a good time, but is there any way, how many of you have tried calling City Hall? It's horrible.
well,
Is there any way we can get rid of those prompts? To me, does that cost us extra money to have that?
it does not. It's their IP phones. That's the way they work. So the reason for the prompts, they are irritating. I agree. However, the reason for it is it allows us to use voicemails for individual people. But I don't know that we get that many calls. I haven't looked at it, so that's something we should.
I would look into it, because we're a little town and people call and they go, I have to sit on that phone for at least 10 minutes waiting for somebody's call to give me a voice message. And we're a little town. We're supposed to be friendly and pick up the phone, and to me,
That's something we can certainly look into.
Okay, I'd like to see
And
that.
so there's other, a lot of these little items that we can bring up when our new city administrator is here. We've got a lot on Chief's plate right now. And so it'll be a lot more helpful once the new administrator comes on.
As a matter of fact, we've been experiencing problems with the phone system the last 2 weeks. The only phone that's ringing in the office right now is Janine's. If you try to call me, my phone doesn't ring. If you try to call Jerry Palmer, her phone doesn't ring. It goes straight to voicemail. I spent the better part of about an hour this afternoon on the phone with David Rock talking to him about this.
Okay, when does our administrator start?
17th
Yes.
was the date that she gave me.
Okay.
So she should be here, what is the 17th? I think that's next week, Monday. Or Wednesday, sorry. Okay. It's coming.
I understand that when Mr. Butzlaw was terminated, he was allowed to keep his Ranger City uniforms.
Okay. I was unaware of that, but okay.
Okay, should we not get those back?
We can ask for them back.
I mean, he can wear that shirt and act like he works for the city of Ranger anyway.
I was unaware of that. I'll look into it.
If you-
Right. Are there any other questions? Right. Going ahead and move on to new business. Discuss, consider, and possible action concerning a presentation from Superintendent Randy Willis, Granger ISD, regarding the upcoming Granger ISD tax ratification election to be held November 6, 2018, and its effect on the local tax structure. And, Acting City Administrator Bob Shelton.
John, sir.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to present to City Council. I wanted to bring the City Council up to date on the action from the Granger School Board to call for a tax ratification election, and exactly what is the tax ratification election and what we're trying to do with the school. One of the things I did that's a little addition to your board book is to give you a quick, just very, very quick couple of comments with regard to school finance and school funding. The school is funded from two different ways. One from local taxes and two from the state formula funding. We generate, our school board asks for, sets overall tax rate, which currently is $1.10, and that's broken into two areas. One is for maintenance and operation, and the other one is for interest and sinking. Maintenance and operation is what we pay all of our bills, and it's kind of like your house. It's like your household budget. It's what we pay everything from. Interest and sinking is what we pay for existing school buildings. We passed a bond about 25 years ago, and we are just about to pay that off. So there's two different funding sources from local taxes. And then there's a funding source from the state. It seems quite simple when you look at this little first page here. You know, it's district taxes, approved rate, and school funding equals what the school gets. If you'll turn to the second page, you can see real quick that it gets very complicated. What we get from local funding versus what the state will give us. The state has a school permanent fund which they issue out to schools every year. That formula is highlighted in just a few items that I have showed you, with basic allotment, small school adjustment allotment, high school allotment, school special programs allotment, weighted average daily attendance. We don't get paid for enrollment, we get paid for whether a kid comes to school or not. That affects how we get paid. Tier 1, Tier 2, 3 funding, golden pennies, silver pennies. Each one of these break out into 4 or 5 different areas, and the state comes up with a formula and gives each school district. So it gets very complicated very quickly. What a tax ratification election is it allows us to collect our taxes locally different. The M&O tax is set at $1.04 for Granger, and that's one of the lowest tax rates in the area. Our interest in sinking tax rate is set at 0.065, which pays for our building. What a tax ratification is, for us in this particular case, is a simple swap and drop. We're going to ask our voters to raise the taxes for maintenance and operation to $1.17 at the time, and that's what the voters will be voting for. At the same time, the school board, if this is approved, the school board is going to lower the interest and sinking tax to 0. So the overall tax rate to the community is no tax increase. It's how we collect it. The state, in their formulas that I was explaining a little bit earlier, will give school districts more funding if they're at a higher taxable rate. So by raising our tax rate to $1.17 from its current $1.10, the state in all of its formulas says we will give you more money in your formulas. For us, it'll be about $250,000, $215,000 additional funding that we'll get from the state formula for this. So we call it a swap and drop. We swap the INS and put it into maintenance and operation, and then we drop the INS rate down to 0. By and large, keeping the tax rate for everybody exactly the same, but it's how we collect it with the state. This is an important election for us. We cannot advocate for or against this. All I can do is give information out as to what we're doing, what we're asking. The net revenue for the school through this will be about $115,000 to $120,000 for the next 5 or 6 years. So we'll see over $600,000 in increased revenue if this is approved for us to collect taxes in this manner. Thought it was important for the city council to be informed of what we're doing and any questions that you may have. Of course, I'm sure I'll be glad to answer it, but you can talk with the information you have there. Now that you've had this presentation, you're now expert on school finance, and Mr. Springfield, former board member, can fill in all the questions for you on how we get funded.
Answer yes to everything.
So I just wanted to give you an update and give you information and answer any questions that you may have with what this actual proposition will be called Proposition A on the ballot. On our website, we actually have all this information on the website, and we have the actual ballot on the website so everybody can see what it looks like and what the wording is. And we'll continue to have information. I'll probably have a meeting once or twice between now and November. Tomorrow's the last day to register for voting. Early voting starts the October 20th. And then they will have a mobile lab at Granger ISD on the
Sunday, October 28th.
28th?
On a Sunday?
Well, yeah, it'll be Sunday afternoon. It would be a mobile lab there in the Granger Elementary School from 1 to 6, so we'll have a chance to early vote there. Williamson County has votings all over their voting places that you could vote at, and then the actual election is Tuesday, the 6th of November. So that's a quick version for tax ratification election and what the school district is trying to do to raise a little bit more money without raising taxes.
I know this is, the information's posted everywhere, but if somebody wanted to vote yes for this, it's simple as yes to Prop A or no to Prop A.
The actual ballot looks like this. It'll be on our website. We'll give you copies of it. The wording of the proposition, this is 2 pages, will be on the second page back over here. It'll say school, and then underneath the school, it'll say Granger Independent School District Special Election, Proposition A. And it will read, approving the ad valorem tax rate of $1.17 per 100 valuation in Granger Independent School District for the current school year, a rate that is .065 higher than the school district rollback tax rate, for the purpose of generating an additional $215,000 in revenue. In parentheses, if the total tax rate of $1.17 is approved by the voters, the district will levy a tax rate in 2018 at $1.10.5. So that's the current tax rate we currently have. So it's very confusing, but it has to be worded that way. But that's what I say, and then it'll say for or against. So anyone they put for or against on how they want to vote for that. Good question. Any other questions? Any other information? Yeah, if anybody calls, please ask them to call my office. The school district will be glad to give them any information, and it's all posted on our website.
It's just that there's no extra taxes taxed on the citizens, it's just reallocated.
It's just how we, it raises our M&O tax rate, but when we do that, the board will lower the INS rate. So it's how we collect it, and then the state will say, when their formula with all these magical stuff that really is a lot, they'll say, because of that, in the Tier 1, Tier 2, we earn more money because of a higher tax rate.
Throw you a curveball here, you might know or might not. How many school districts have voted on this?
About 450. I think there's the
actual number in there.
There's an actual number in there. I think I put it. 425 districts have successfully passed the TRE since 2010. There are 75 districts that are going for a TRE from August to November. You can have this. You can call for a special election. We waited to the November election because we'd have to fund that completely ourselves. Saves us a little bit of money by the general election. But 80 school districts are calling for TRE from this past August until the November election. So that'll make over almost half the school districts are seeking ways to increase their funding in the state formula.
So simple level. No other questions?
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. This is just, yeah, it's no action, it's just educational. Moving on to new business, discuss, consider possible action on meeting minutes for regular city council meeting from September 10th, 2018. Acting Administrator Bob Shelton. Yes. Anything on there that y'all saw was incorrect or that needed to be changed? Pretty clear.
Okay, I move on new business item number 2 that we approve the minutes from the meeting for the regular city council meeting on September 10th, 2018.
Second.
All in favor? All right, motion carries. Number 3, discuss, consider, and possible action on a proclamation for Czech Heritage Month from Mayor Pro Tem Monika Sturgeon.
I had this added to the agenda that we would declare Czech Heritage Month in October because that is traditionally how it's celebrated everywhere else. And this being a prominent Czech community, we wanted to acknowledge that.
Any discussion? All right. Anybody like to make a motion?
I move on new business item number 3 that we proclaim Czech Heritage Month for the month of October 2018.
Second.
All right. All in favor? All right. All opposed by the same? Seeing none, motion carries.
And then we just go to second that check.
Monica would have to, I don't know how.
Number 4, discuss, consider, and possible action on citywide fall garage sale in November for City of Granger Mayor Pro Tem Sturgeon.
Okay, I think that we have enough people interested that we do need to move forward with this. And usually, typically, people get paid either on the 1st or the 3rd of the month. So November 3rd would be our first Saturday, and November 17th would be the 3rd Saturday around payday. And I do know that deer hunting starts November 3rd, which could affect something. So probably November 17th would maybe be a better day.
Is that good with you, Catherine? 17th, November?
Do it.
Okay, new business item number 4, I move that we set Saturday, November the 17th for the citywide garage sale in Granger.
Second.
All right, by Lynn. All in favor? All right. All opposed by the same? Seeing none, motion carries. Number 5, discuss, consider possible action on request for First Baptist Church of Granger to block off the 300 block of East Mesquite from 5 to 7 on October 31st, 2018 for the annual Fall Festival with barricades provided by the city. Reverend Philip Hamlin.
Okay, this is something we do every year. The church does this, and it's a great community event because a lot of children do attend it, whether they go to that church or not. And they offer a lot of games and activities and various food for the community.
Any discussion? All right. Anybody like to make a motion?
Okay, I move on new business item number 5 that we allow the First Baptist Church to have this block shut off in a 300 block of East Mesquite from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. on October 31st, 2018.
Second.
All right. All in favor? All right. All opposed by the same? Seeing none, motion carries. Number 6, discuss, consider, and possible action on replacement of resigned City Council Member Hugh Tidwell and the acceptance of his resignation. Mr. Cheatham. He was supposed to email it to me today. I have not received it yet, so I couldn't present y'all the formal written, but he did do that at the last meeting, so that's good enough. And I also did a very lengthy process as far as I went out and tried to find the most unbiased way of appointing a city council member with questions, and then it had a questions and answer sheet, and I met with all three candidates for city council, and I wanted to bring before or nominate Debbie Todd to city council as the replacement city council member. So if y'all would like to vote on accepting Hugh Tidwell's resignation and the acceptance of Debbie Todd or not. Any discussion or? Anybody like to make a motion?
I move on new business, item number 6, that we accept the resignation of Councilmember Hugh Tidwell and accept Debbie Todd as his replacement.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Motion carries. So 3 for and 2 against.
There's a second here, I need to write that down.
3, 4.
I'm voting for it. All right. Number 7, discuss, consider, and possible action of compensation of Chief Shelton for 17 weeks as acting city administrator with a payment out of the fiscal year 17-18 budget of $325 per week for a total of $5,525. This pay is to continue on a weekly basis until the city administrator is at work. Mayor Cheatham. This is a guideline, and I asked around. These are some numbers that were presented to me. This is naturally going to, I'd like some discussion on this. But these are just guidelines, so.
It seems like a fair rate to me. I don't know what to go off of. How many averages, how many extra hours do you think you work a week? Chief?
It's very difficult to separate the police stuff and the city administrator stuff right now. The city administrator stuff is running about 70% of my time, and the police stuff unfortunately has taken a second seat to that, plus having to train a new guy right now also is adding to that. It doesn't stop when you go home. I get calls evenings and weekends about stuff that needs to be taken care of. And it's part of the agreement I made with the mayor. I wanted more. The mayor made a counter offer. I agreed to the counter offer.
What do y'all think?
Okay, Mr. Mayor, when you asked him to do that, was there a price discussed at that time?
There was none.
Was there something said that he would get reimbursed for this?
There was none.
Okay, that's all I need.
Where are we gonna get the money to pay this?
It's
The salary for the city administrator position that hasn't been spent.
We were going to spend, what we were spending anyway. This is actually,
yeah.
just keep things floating. I don't know what we do if we hadn't stepped in personally.
To me, that's like giving him a bonus and then we're not paying him for his overtime.
And I do know that Tori and Janine have taken on extra responsibility with the absence of administrator.
So they should be deserving of pay too. And he's still getting paid for being the chief, and he wasn't doing the chief job, he was doing the administrator job, so he was still getting paid.
This is true.
And you had us cut $39,000 out of his budget so that we could break even, so I have a hard time giving money away.
I don't know that it's giving it away in my head. It's built into the budgets.
Then why not pay him his stuff?
We could put that on the agenda for next week. I don't mind having a discussion about anything. I'm not staying focused on this one item right now. I think you stepped in and did a job that none of us could do.
I had to question Mr. Yanati's time on a council agenda back in August, and Mr. Gennady, during that meeting, withdrew it. And y'all tabled it. I have been told to put it back on the agenda. If y'all would like it back on the agenda, I'll be more than happy to do so.
I'm going to just speak a little bit about this because I have a full-time job and I have gone and spent an enormous amount of time coming up to the city and covering as best I can without a city administrator. Without Bob's assistance, I couldn't have done this. And I'm just being honest, I could not have kept things running without Bob's assistance. And his diligence to deal with the software issues. I don't have the time to spend 4 and 5 hours on the phone every day that Bob has graciously done. And it's been rough, it's been stressful on Bob. And I asked around, I asked what the precedent was. This is the precedent that I was told by a couple of other city administrators. And so but I would like council's input. This is something this is a financial deal the council needs to at least discuss, and if you feel the number's too high or something, that's fine, but I would like to show Chief some sort of gratitude, if possible, for the amount of work that he's done.
What was Rachel Lynch's salary? Roughly 40.
You started at 50 with 600, you at 55,000, and Miss Bradshaw's coming in at 57,000.
Okay. I get the logic behind where's the money coming from. That sits built into the budget. Well, city administrator, secretary.
You basically not had a city administrator for the last 17 weeks, and that salary portion totals up to about $25,000.
And could we have limped along? I think maybe during normal business, but during budget, we were pretty much screwed and lost and had no budget.
Budget was rough.
I didn't have any clue until I dove into it myself. I know how to prepare a departmental budget. I know how to spend money properly and with accountability. What I had no clue was where the money came from. I knew it came from taxes, but that's not the whole story. It was an eye-opener for me, and I had to sit down and learn it. And I had to call people who knew about it and get on the phone with them and get counseling. And it's not something you can do in one day. It took me weeks.
Right.
Anybody else have any comments?
Does anybody here think you shouldn't be compensated? Time and effort.
I think we need to readdress this at a later date, like we're going to address the other issues of money after our new administrator takes place, in fairness to everyone.
Would anybody like to make a motion to table it to the next meeting?
On new business item number 7, I move that we take no action at this time and readdress the compensation of Chief Sheldon and other parties as soon as our new administrator takes over and we are in a comfortable position.
All right.
Second.
All in favor? All right. All opposed by the same? Seeing none, motion carries. Number 8, discuss, consider, and possible action on promoting Kurt Kurderka from street maintenance to sewer department, opening from Perry Voltzlaw, effective at $15 per hour, May Cheatham, and acting city administrator Shelton. Frank had called me asking if it was possible to move Kurt into that position. And so, not having Perry in the water and sewer department, Kirk was primarily in the streets department, and so, but he did not have a D license, so that's where we came up with $15 an hour. But I told him I would approve it until the next council meeting for council to make the final decision. Anybody have any questions?
I can tell you that Kurt and Clayton have really stepped up, because I'm out with Frank and the guys a lot, and I've really seen them stepping up and doing their part.
I think Kirk's doing a good job. So, because everybody, this is basically making my deal permanent.
Okay, I move on new business item number 8, that we promote Kurt Kaderka from street maintenance to sewer department, replacing a vacated employee's position, effective at a $15 per hour rate.
All right, second. All in favor? All right, motion carries. Number 9, discuss, consider, and possible action on approval for overtime for Janine Kelm and extra time for Jerry Palmer to move and resolve issues from the Banyan software back to Assist software, or paying USTI to move this data. Acting City Administrator Shelton.
I put this on the agenda. This is a what if. I like to plan ahead. We already knew that the payroll items that had been run in Banyan were not going to translate over, so Jerry is doing those. As a matter of fact, she completed them this afternoon so we could do payroll and Assist tomorrow. The other issues are dependent upon whether or not USTI can pull the Banyan data out of Banyan and put it back into Assist safely. If it can be done, it's not going to cost us any overtime. If it can't be done, Janine is going to have to re-enter the data for the 2.5 months from the Banyan software into the Assist software. That's 2.5 months, about, I don't know, how many utility accounts do we have,
600.
Frank?
Approximately
600 a week.
Yeah.
I've worked with Janine on that, and most of it is still in Assist, so really she shouldn't have too much of a problem making that transfer.
Yeah, this is more or less a what if.
Yeah.
If we got to do it, then it's going to have to be done, and it's going to have to be done by us. And the only person who can do it is Janine, because she's the only one that has access to that part of the system and knows where the data is.
If you had a ballpark estimate on man hours.
I can't even begin to tell you. I'm not asking for blanket authorization.
Right.
What I'm asking for is an acknowledgement that this possibility exists, and that if necessary, myself or Christy Bradshaw will bring this back in here in November for y'all to get final approval on it.
If I can go into a little bit more depth on this, I met with Janine and we discussed it. The problem is it's 2 months, but if she starts entering it and it rolls over into another month, the issue is let's say she fixes a water bill or somebody has turned their water off. If she can't complete it in a 30-day period, then it messes the books up.
Yeah.
And so it would have to be completed. So she would have to send the bills out and then immediately start keying in the changes. And what would end up happening is if we didn't do it right and it rolled over, then we would have accounts that were incorrect and their bills would be incorrect. So that's why I asked Bob. We looked at it. Originally, I asked Janine, how much time it would take. She said because some of the bills are a lot more complicated than others, we came up with a rough number between 8 and 10 minutes per client. Well, if you do the math on that times 600, it turns into quite the number. So when Bob came to me, he was like, do we want to authorize this? I was like, let's see if Assist can fix this, because that number was, I personally felt, Janine doing her day job on top of keying this in, I didn't see how she could have done it.
I don't either. I don't yet know how we're going to do it. I do know that what I did was, is we took a flash drive, with a terabyte of memory. We dumped the Banyan's data in there, we dumped the Assist data in there, and I FedExed it to Irving, Texas, to USTI. Unfortunately, FedEx decided to deliver it to somebody in Plano, Texas, and it took them 8 days to get it back and take it to the right spot. So they got it this week. They're working on it. We should have some answers hopefully within the near future. I just wanted to make y'all aware of what the issues were with this, because this is troubling. Right now, the numbers in Assist don't match what the actual figures are. So we're having to still pull information from the Banyan software, and I basically told the girls in the office October the 1st, we're not using Banyan anymore. We have to go back to Assist. We have to. We have no choice.
Okay, since we're on a tight budget, and we're gonna have a new city administrator coming in, why couldn't we, if it came down to it, why couldn't, is it required by law that city hall has to be open the whole day?
No, I see where you're coming from.
Work a half a day, post it to the citizens on Facebook, put a sign on the door, put signs up in town, and let them work a half a day, and then that second half of the day, let them work on that, instead of paying them overtime.
Yeah.
We have closed for training, so
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
I would like to see that instead of us paying them overtime.
I'd still like us to be able to answer the phones if somebody calls in with a problem.
Well, you can have an administrator there by then.
Yeah.
Would y'all be willing to wait until the administrator gets here and I ask her opinion?
Yeah.
Because she's got a lot of experience that I would like to
She'll know
lean on. And that is a very good idea. And I wish I could ask, but it's not only a
I do agree with you on this. That is a hell of an idea.
Because if we were closed, I mean, even, let's say, even if we closed later, because some people pay their bill before they go to work. So let's say we're open an hour, then we close, and then we don't open back up till, I don't know, 3 o'clock. And that way when people are coming home, but the majority, a large portion.
Especially if it's the week of the 15th.
Correct. I like your idea. I see what you're saying. That's not a bad plan.
I just figured that way they're not giving up their weekends.
Would
And
y'all
they're doing
be,
it on regular time, and it wouldn't cost us the extra dollar.
would you like to make a motion?
On new business item number 9, I move that we take no action at this time and wait for our new city administrator to come in and analyze the situation and come up with a plan to getting the new data moved over. I second.
Can I ask that if that's okay, if she comes up with a plan, or if we like your idea, that we can move forward with partially closing City Hall?
Right.
You could add
But see,
that.
she may say, well, I'll run it, or I'll do it, she may know
Right.
how to do that.
She might.
She's never worked in Assist. Never.
So if you,
Okay, to amend my,
We're limited on the number of terminals in our system. That's what really, we can't, when Janine started putting all that stuff in, she's gonna get continually interrupted, and I can't cover for her because she.
That's why I'm saying close it like a half a day, where you can just keep
it
working.
causes a major issue.
Right.
We just want, I think there's only one.
So being closed like half a day, would that be good though for her, and we'll be able to work on it?
I'm gonna propose that to her tomorrow, and
Okay.
I'll call you and let you know what she says,
Okay.
because I think it's important.
I know that, see, that's what I'm thinking, she's over.
I like your idea, because I've been pondering this for 2 weeks, and I could not see that far past the problem to your solution. That works out good.
That was the first thing I said, well, because they're already working 5 days a week.
It's just that I
I
can
didn't
make
like
the call.
it.
I can, but.
I hated overtime, so.
okay, on new business item number 9, I want to amend my motion to include that the new administrator will have the option to consider either paying overtime if necessary, or closing the office to do the time. At that time, the times will be set, and I give Mayor Cheatham the authority to make that decision.
If you would like, you can say, can I ask for a friendly amendment? If you want to.
Okay, she's saying to go ahead and pay the overtime though, right?
To consider it, or to consider
Okay, as last
whichever.
resort, okay, I'll second
To
it.
either consider paying.
I see where you're coming from, Linda.
Well, you're not gonna get anything faster than that, okay?
No, I'm on it.
All right.
Had a rough weekend.
That's a motion. Anybody second? You second, okay.
Okay.
All in favor? All right, all opposed by the same? Seeing none, motion carries. All right. Executive session, we don't have anything for that.
Council member staff comments, I think.
Yeah, it was supposed to be at 6:30, so I know, I can't really, I can't really do anything about that, unfortunately.
Talk to him and see what he's got.
Yeah, I'll follow up with him, I'll put it on next one. Council member and staff comments, anyone?
I'd like to welcome Debbie Todd to our new council position. And I know she planned on being here earlier. She's been out of town all week and was stranded by bad weather.
Up Oklahoma. Let's talk to her today.
All right. And anyone else have anything to say?
Good, sir.
All right, I'll go ahead and move on to adjourning the meeting.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
All right.
Second that motion.
All right, all in favor? All right, all opposed by the same, seeing none, motion carries. We're dismissed.